Hello, students. Hope you all are enjoying your online learning, and I'm really hopeful that you are utilizing your time well for your studies and for your physical activities. So, students, today in your English class, we will be doing a new chapter. The chapter is titled Crow Boy and is written by Taro Yashima. Taro Yashima was a Japanese artist and author. He was very famous for his beautifully illustrated books for children. His popular picture books are Umbrella, Crowboy, and Seashore Story. So, before we start to the text of this chapter, this story, I would like to give you a brief introduction to it. The story Crowboy tells us about a strange boy, a boy who was very shy and quiet. This boy, he always used to spend his time in nature. He was not more interested in studies, as he always indulged himself in doing strange activities. His classmates did not like him. They always found him very strange, very different. So later, a new teacher came into his life, and this new teacher identifies his uniqueness and talent and help him gaining popularity and respect among his classmates. So are you finding this story interesting? Yes. So let us start reading this beautiful and heart-touching story. On the very first day of our village school in Japan, there was a boy missing. He was found hiding in the dark space under the schoolhouse floor. None of us knew him, but we immediately nicknamed him Chibi as he was very small. So it was the first day of the author's village school in Japan when a boy went missing. When his classmates started looking for him, they found him hiding under a raised platform of school floor and the ground. As you can see here in the picture, here is this strange boy, and this boy is hiding himself. Students, do you have any idea why this boy was hiding himself? He probably might be feeling alone because he was shy and quiet. The moment his classmates saw him, they immediately nicknamed him as Chibi. Chibi means tiny. Now, why his classmates gave this nickname to him? Because they found him very short. They nicknamed him Chibi because Chibi was very small. So here comes two new words. One is immediately and second is nickname. Now what is the meaning of immediately? Immediately means at once, right away, usi time, right? And nickname means a short name which is usually given to make fun of somebody. Students, as humans, we have that tendency, right, to give nickname to others when we find something to make fun of, which is not appropriate. We should not nickname anybody just to make fun of them. Chibi was a strange boy. He would watch the ceiling or his wooden desktop with great interest for hours. He would study a patch of cloth on a boy's shoulder. He would look out of the window all round the year and find delightful surprises even when it rained. On the playground, if he closed his eyes, Chibi could hear many different sounds, near and far. He could hold and watch insects and grubs which we would not even look at. Now, all of his classmates, they found him very strange. Why? Because he would sit alone. He would never participate in studies. He would watch the ceiling or his wooden desktop in the class for a long time, right? And he even could study a patch of cloth on some boy's shoulder. He would spend the whole year looking out of the window, observing nature, and finding lovely, delightful surprises for him, even when it was raining, right? And when there is a sports period, Chibi would never join other students in sports. He would never play with his classmates. Rather than participating there, he would sit alone, he would close his eyes, and he tried to hear different sounds. Even he could hold and watch insects or worms in his hands. That is why his classmates they found him very strange, all because of these strange activities he would do in his school hours. We left Chibi alone. Now who are we over here? Of course, his classmates. His classmates they left Chibi alone. Now, Chibi was always left alone in the study and also in the playground. Why was this so? Because his classmates found him very strange. He trudged to school and went back home on his own every day, learning nothing in class. And so, 5 years passed till we reached the sixth grade, the last class in school. Our teacher, Mr. Izobe, was a friendly man with a kind smile. Now, just because Chibi was left alone by his classmates, he would come to school and reach back to home alone on his own, learning nothing in the class. And in the same manner, 5 years of his school were passed, and Chibi and his classmates, they all were promoted to grade 6, which was the last class in the school. And when they were in grade 6, a new teacher came to their school, right? He was their class teacher. And what was the name of this teacher? Mr. Izobe. Mr. Izobe was a very friendly man and he was very kind to the students. He would love to spend time talking to the students and resolving their queries. Now, students, Mr. Izobe was a very popular teacher in that school. Let us know what was the reason behind that. He frequently took us to the hilltop behind the school. While we played, he often spent time talking to Chibi. Now, Mr. Izobe was a very different teacher. He was different from others. He was very unique. While other teachers, they used to teach in the classroom, Mr. Izobe, he frequently took all the children to the hilltop behind the school. Now, here comes your new word that is frequently. And what is the meaning of frequently? Regularly. Now you came to know why Mr. Izobe was so popular in the school. Yes, while we played, he often spent time talking to Chibi. While other students, they played on the hilltop, Chibi used to sit alone and Mr. Izobe found it very strange. So he went to Chibi and he started talking to him. He was pleased to learn that Chibi knew all the places where the wild grapes and wild potatoes grew. He was amazed to find how much Chibi knew about all the flowers in our class garden. Later that year, Chibi appeared on the stage at the talent show. We could not believe our eyes. What can he do up there? We wondered. Then Mr. Izobe announced that Chibi was going to imitate the voices of crow. So while talking to Chibi, Mr. Izobe came to know that Chibi was such a gifted child. He was not strange. He was just having different interests, different likings, different dislikings. He was not interested in studies, but he was more interested into the nature. This was the reason that Chibi knew all the places where the wild grapes and wild potatoes grow. Even he knew all about the flowers in his class garden. Then one day, there came a day when school organized a talent show for its students. And Mr. Izobe asked Chibi to participate in that. Somehow, Chibi managed to participate and he appeared on the stage during the talent show. Everybody wondered what talent he could display over there. And why were they wondering? Because for them, Chibi was a strange boy. He was good for nothing. So therefore, they were wondering. They were so shocked, so surprised, right? So here comes a new phrase for you. We could not believe our eyes. अपनी आँखों पर विश्वास ना होना means very surprised, very shocked. Then Mr. Isobe announced, while all his classmates were wondering what GB was doing on the stage and what kind of talent he was showing there. So Mr. Isobe came up to the stage and he made an announcement that GB would be imitating the voices of crow. Imitate, to copy someone, किसी की नकल करना. Yes, Chibi was about to imitate the voices of crow. Voices of crows? Everybody wondered. First, Chibi imitated the voices of newly hatched crows. Then he made the mother crow's voice. Then he imitated the father crow's voice. He showed how crows cry early in the morning and when they are happy. At the end, to imitate a crow on an old tree, Chibi made a very special sound deep down in his throat. Quack, quack. We were struck with wonder. Now, Chibi started showing his talent on the stage. So, to start with, he imitated the voices of newly born baby crows. Then, he also made voices of mother crow and father crow. And later, he also showed the voices of crying crow and a happy crow. And at the end, to imitate a crow on an old tree, he made a very special sound of crow, quack, quack. We were struck with wonder. Struck with one wonder means we all were very shocked. And who are we over here? His classmates. Yes, his classmates, they were very surprised. They were very shocked to see Chibi performing such kind of talent. Our minds were taken to the far and lonely mountainside from which Chibi probably came to school. Mr. Izobe explained that Chibi had learned those calls for 6 years while leaving his home for school at dawn and arriving home at sunset. Each one of us cried. We realized how wrongly we had treated Chibi. Now, when Chibi he showcased his talent of imitating the voices of crows, everyone sitting in the auditorium, they were thinking. Now they had an idea from where Chibi was coming to the school. He might probably was coming from a very far and a lonely mountainside. Now, when all these audience, all his classmates were wondering that how talented Chibi was, Mr. Izobe, he came up to the stage and explained that Chibi had learned all these voices while leaving his home for school in the morning and while going back to his home at sunset. So he explained that while coming to the school and going back to his home, there might be some crows who were making these sounds or voices there. So, children, Chibi was such a gifted child, right? Because he was such a nature observer. He was more into the nature that he started learning something from the nature. Each one of us cried. Yes, each one of us means every classmate of his, they started crying or they started feeling remorse because they were very sad and ashamed of themselves for teasing Chibi, for calling him with a funny nickname, and also for leaving him alone. Now they were so regretful and they realized that how badly they have behaved with Chibi. After school was over, we sometimes met Chibi in the village, but nobody called him Chibi anymore. We all called him Crow Boy when we greeted him. Crow Boy would nod and smile as he stretched his shoulders proudly and set off for his home in the far mountainside. And from around the turn of the mountain road would come a crow call, the happy one. Now, when the school gets over, his classmates they would go to his village and they would meet him. But now they would not call him Chibi anymore. Now, this Chibi, this strange boy, he got a new name. And what was the new name of this boy? Crow Boy. Do you know, children, why this boy got this nickname now, Crow Boy? Because he could imitate the voices of crows. And Chibi was finally happy and he accepted this new name of his, right? So, whenever somebody greeted him with his new name, Crowboy, he would nod his head, he would smile, and leave for his home to the far mountainside. To show his happiness, he would give a final crow call of a happy crow, quack, quack. So that brings us to the end of this story. And children, and you may have found how Chibi was feeling so happy. He was finally so happy to be accepted, and he felt so proud to find his talent that gave him a new name. So, what did you learn, children, from here? Now, after learning all this story, what do you find? Chibi was a strange boy, or was he a gifted one? Of course, Chibi was a gifted child. He was such a nature lover. He was so good at learning names and details of the flowers in his class garden. He was a quick learner. That is why he was able to learn different sounds of crows, right? Student, each story gives us a life skill. Each story or poem, it gives us a moral lesson to learn. We humans have a tendency to compare each other. We always want others to be like us, but we always forget that we all are different in some or other ways. We all may have different interests, liking and disliking. I may good at some other sport. You may good at some other sports, right? So we should not judge people because of their appearance, because of their interest or their language or their background. We should learn from this story that how accepting others as they are can make their life easy and enjoyable. All we need is to just reach to them, talk to them, and understand them. Everyone is unique and possess some or the other quality. Personally, I like this story a lot. This story not only highlights the importance of accepting others, it also tells us how a perception of a teacher can really make a difference in a child's life. So, as a teacher, also, I like this story a lot. So try to understand others, try to make them comfortable, do not make fun of others, as everybody is special. Thank you and enjoy your online learning.